Imagine you've just finished a massive construction project. You've built a house or maybe a fortress. The walls are strong, the gates are locked, and the architecture is perfect. But there's one huge problem.
Let me guess, you forgot the plumbing?
No, worse. It's a ghost town. There's nobody inside.
Ah, I see where we're going. We are back in Jerusalem with Nehemiah.
Exactly. We've spent so much time focusing on the walls being rebuilt, facing down Sanballat and Tobiah, and dealing with the external threats. But today, looking at Nehemiah chapters 11 through 13, plus a little flavor from Psalm 126, we hit a strange reality. The infrastructure was ready, but the city was empty.
It's a classic urban planning crisis, isn't it? You can build the hardware of a city, but that doesn't mean you have the software, the people, the culture, the life. And in Nehemiah 11, we see a solution that is, well, let's call it aggressive volunteering.
That is a very polite way to put it. They essentially held a draft.
They did. The leaders lived in Jerusalem, which makes sense. But for the rest of the population, they cast lots. 1 out of every 10 people was chosen, mandated really, to pack up their farm, leave their village, and move into the holy city.
It sounds intense. Why would you need to force people to move to the capital? Usually, people flock to cities for jobs, for excitement.
Not this city, not then. You have to remember, Jerusalem was still a target. Living there meant you were on the front lines if an army attacked. It was also rubble for decades. It wasn't a comfortable metropolis, it was a construction site surrounded by enemies. It required sacrifice.
That explains why the text says the people blessed all the men who willingly offered themselves. It was viewed as a heroic act to just live there.
Precisely. It's the difference between being a tourist and being a pioneer. But once they sort out the population, getting the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, the priests, and the Levites organized, we move into chapter 12. And this, I think, is the cinematic climax of the entire book.
The dedication of the wall.
Yes, and Nehemiah doesn't do this halfway. This isn't a ribbon-cutting ceremony with a pair of oversized scissors. This is a sensory explosion.
I love the visual here. He organizes 2 massive choirs of thanksgiving.
2 great companies. He sends one group to the right, marching along the top of the wall toward the dung gate, and the other group goes to the left, past the Tower of the Furnaces. Nehemiah is marching behind them. Just picture that. Hundreds of singers, trumpets blaring, cymbals crashing, walking on top of the very walls their enemies said a fox could knock over.
It's a victory lap.
It's a statement of existence. The text says they offered great sacrifices and rejoiced with such great joy that the sound of Jerusalem was heard from far away.
That reminds me of Psalm 126. When the Lord brought back the captivity of Zion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing.
It fits perfectly. That psalm captures the surreal nature of it. After 70 years of silence and ruin, suddenly the air is filled with music. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. They had sown in tears for months, hauling stone, fighting off sleep, guarding against attacks. Now they were reaping the joy.
It feels like the perfect ending to the movie, doesn't it? The music swells, the camera pans out over the celebrated city, everyone is happy, roll credits.
It does feel that way, but the book of Nehemiah doesn't end there. And honestly, what happens next is jarring. It's almost like a sequel that takes a dark, gritty turn.
We're talking about chapter 13.
The chapter where reality hits hard. See, after the dedication, Nehemiah actually leaves. He goes back to report to King Artaxerxes in Babylon. We don't know exactly how long he was gone, maybe a year, maybe a few years, but when he comes back to Jerusalem, the happy ending has started to rot.
It's the entropy of human nature. You stop pushing the boulder up the hill, and it rolls back down immediately.
And it rolled down fast. The first thing Nehemiah finds is shocking. You remember Tobiah?
The villain? The guy who mocked the wall? The guy who tried to assassinate Nehemiah?
That's the one. Nehemiah comes back and finds that Eliashib the priest, the man in charge of the temple storerooms, has cleared out the grain and incense to make a nice, spacious apartment for Tobiah, inside the temple courts.
That is unbelievable. That's like finding out the bank manager invited the bank robber to sleep in the vault.
It's betrayal at the highest level. It shows how quickly standards can slip when leadership is absent. Oh, Tobiah isn't so bad. Let's be inclusive. Let's make a deal. Nehemiah's reaction is my favorite moment in the book, purely for its raw emotion.
He doesn't write a strongly worded letter.
No, he says, "It grieved me severely." And then, he physically throws Tobiah's household furniture out of the room. I just imagine Nehemiah, this governor, tossing tables and chairs out the door, shouting, "Get this trash out of the holy place."
It's violent, but it's symbolic. He's cleaning house. But it wasn't just Tobiah, was it? The whole system was breaking down.
Everything was unraveling. Because Tobiah was in the storeroom, there was no room for the tithes. Because there were no tithes, the Levites and singers, the guys who just led that massive worship service, had to quit their temple jobs and go back to farming just to eat. The worship had stopped.
So the spiritual ecosystem collapsed.
Completely. And it spread to the economy. Nehemiah sees people treading wine presses on the Sabbath. Merchants from Tyre are selling fish on the holy day. The distinctiveness of their culture, the very thing that made them who they were, was being traded for commerce.
This is the part that always strikes me as so modern. It's the struggle between the sacred and the profitable. If you don't fiercely protect a day of rest, the market will devour it.
And Nehemiah knows this. He knows that if they lose the Sabbath, they lose their identity. If they lose their identity, the wall doesn't matter. They'll just be another melting pot city in the Persian Empire. So he threatens the merchants. He says, if you can't buy the wall again, I will lay hands on you.
I love that phrase. I will lay hands on you. In modern church contexts, that usually means prayer. Here, I think it means a fist fight.
Oh, absolutely. It's a threat of physical force. And then it gets even more personal. He finds out that the men of Judah had married women from Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab, nations that worshipped other gods. And the text says the children couldn't even speak the language of Judah. They were losing their mother tongue.
This is a sensitive topic today, but in that context, this wasn't about race, was it?
No, it was about theology and covenant. It was about survival. Nehemiah brings up King Solomon. He says, look, Solomon was the wisest and greatest king, and even he was led astray by foreign alliances and foreign gods. If it could take down Solomon, it will crush this fragile little community.
Nehemiah's reaction here is intense. He says he cursed them, struck some of them, and pulled out their hair.
It's desperate. You have to feel the weight on his shoulders. He spent years rebuilding this place, risking his life, and he comes back to find them voluntarily walking off the cliff. He's trying to shock them back into reality. He's realizing that building a wall of stone is easy compared to building a wall of character.
That's the real lesson here, isn't it? External restoration is one thing. Internal restoration is a constant war.
It is. You can fix a gate in a few weeks, but fixing a heart, keeping a community faithful, that takes constant vigilance. It's exhausting.
That exhaustion comes through in Nehemiah's prayer. Throughout this whole section, he keeps whispering this little refrain.
Remember me, oh my God, for good.
It's haunting. It's not a victory shout. It sounds like a man who feels very alone. He's making enemies of the merchants. He's fighting with the priests. He's yelling at the fathers. He's doing the dirty work that nobody else wants to do. And he's just asking God, please, don't forget that I'm trying.
It connects back to Psalm 126 again, but in a different way. Those who sow in tears, we usually think of that as the tears of the exile, but here, Nehemiah is sowing in the tears of leadership. He's making the hard calls, the unpopular decisions, to ensure there is a harvest of righteousness later.
It challenges our idea of what success looks like. We want the chapter 12 success, the parades, the music, the high fives. We don't want the chapter 13 success, the confrontation, the discipline, the throwing furniture out of the temple.
But you can't have one without the other. That's the paradox. The joy of Jerusalem was heard far away, yes, but that joy is only sustainable if someone is willing to shut the gates on the Sabbath and keep the storerooms pure.
So, looking at this whole arc, from the draft to the dedication to the discipline, what's the takeaway for us?
I think it's that restoration isn't a destination. You don't arrive at restored and then retire. Restoration is a stance. It's a constant resistance against the drift. The natural flow of life is toward disorder, toward compromise, toward the easy way out. To build something that lasts, whether it's a community, a family, or a faith, requires a Nehemiah-like intensity to say, no, we are not drifting. We are staying on the wall.
And sometimes that means you have to be willing to be the bad guy.
Or at least be willing to be the one who cares more about the long-term survival than the short-term comfort.
It leaves us with a heavy but important question. We all want the joy of the harvest, the laughter of Psalm 126, but are we willing to do the maintenance of Nehemiah 13?
That is the question. The wall is up, but the work is never really done.
A powerful place to stop. Remember me, O God, for good. Hopefully we can all say that at the end of our work. Thanks for listening.
See you next time. If you have been blessed by this, please like, subscribe, and share this joy with others. God bless.